Welcome to this episode of True Crime Case Files. Today, we delve into a chilling case that shocked Oklahoma City in the early 2000s. This is Killed by Plastic Surgery, a story of ambition, betrayal, and a fatal pursuit of beauty that led to an unexpected tragedy. In the heart of Oklahoma City, Joanna Rangel, 56, lived a life that seemed like it came straight out of a movie. As the heir to a vast oil and gas fortune, Joanna was a well-known figure in the city's high society. With a history of attending prestigious schools, she was not only wealthy but also well-educated and respected. Joanna was married to Frank H. Rangel, a powerful state senator, making them one of the most influential couples in Oklahoma. They had children who looked up to their mother as a role model. Joanna's personality was as bright as the Oklahoma sun. She was known for her kindness, her love for her family, and her passion for the ranch life that was part of her family's heritage. Apart from managing her family's estate, she was deeply involved in charity work, always looking to give back to her community. In the days leading up to her untimely death in January 2000, Joanna was full of dreams and plans. With the new millennium, the world buzzed with excitement, and people everywhere were talking about the Y2K bug scare that turned out to be a false alarm. Amidst this, Joanna was planning to rejuvenate her appearance with a facelift. She hoped this would help her step confidently into the new decade, continuing her public and private duties with renewed vigor. Little did anyone know, this decision would lead to a tragic turn of events that would shock the community and leave a lasting impact on her family and friends. On the morning of January 15, 2000, Oklahoma City was draped in a blanket of gray clouds, setting a somber mood across the town. It was on this chilly winter day that the unexpected tragedy of Joanna Rangel unfolded within the sterile walls of a renowned private clinic, a place where the elite of Oklahoma City often turned to in pursuit of perfection. Joanna, a prominent figure in the city's social circles, had scheduled a facelift surgery, aiming to start the new millennium with renewed confidence. However, what was supposed to be a routine procedure turned fatal. Joanna's life came to an abrupt end on the operating table, leaving behind a wave of disbelief and sorrow. The grim discovery was made by the surgical team itself, led by Dr. Jonathan Humberston, the clinic's top surgeon. The atmosphere in the operating room shifted from professional calm to chaotic distress as the team realized Joanna could not be revived. Among them was Angie Ruth Niles, a young nurse, who found herself in a situation no medical professional ever hopes to face. Despite their extensive training, nothing could have prepared them for the shock and immediate grief of losing a patient in such circumstances. Word of Joanna's death quickly spread beyond the clinic's walls, casting a shadow over the city. The community, still buzzing from the recent New Year's celebrations and the global sigh of relief that the Y2K bug had been a non-event, was now mourning the loss of one of its most beloved figures. Joanna's death, occurring in a place where she sought to enhance her beauty, added a tragic irony to her passing and left the city in search of answers. Shortly after the tragic news of Joanna Rangel's death during surgery broke out on that overcast January morning in 2000, Oklahoma City police swiftly arrived at the private clinic. The clinic, known for its exclusive clientele and top-notch services, had suddenly become the center of a grim investigation. Leading the investigation were Detective Mickey Larson and his partner, Detective Sarah Gumbert. Both were experienced officers, but the nature of this case was unlike any they had encountered before. The crime scene was not what they typically faced. There were no signs of a struggle or violence. Instead, they stepped into a high-tech operating room, where the only evidence of something gone wrong was the medical equipment and the lifeless body of Joanna Rangel. Detective Larson, known for his methodical approach, immediately began documenting the scene, taking notes on everything from the arrangement of surgical tools to the settings on the medical monitors. Detective Gumbert, on the other hand, focused on interviewing the shocked staff, trying to piece together the timeline of events. Their objective was clear: to understand how a routine cosmetic surgery could turn fatal. The police collected various items for analysis, including syringes, vials of medication, and the records of the anesthesia machine. Every piece of evidence was handled with care, knowing that any could hold the key to unraveling the mystery of Joanna's death. As news vans from local stations like K4 and KWTV crowded the clinic's parking lot, the police continued their meticulous work inside. The investigation into Joanna Rangel's death promised to be a high-profile case, with every detail scrutinized by both the authorities and the public. In the wake of Joanna Rangel's unexpected death, the focus of the Oklahoma City police investigation quickly turned to Dr. Jonathan Humberston, aged 48. As the surgeon who performed Joanna's facelift, Dr. Humberston was at the center of the tragic event. Known as Oklahoma City's premier plastic surgeon, he was a familiar face in the same high society circles as Joanna. However, rumors had been swirling about his struggles with alcohol, casting a shadow over his professional reputation. Dr. Humberston's background was impressive. He had attended some of the most prestigious medical schools in the country and had built a successful practice in Oklahoma City. His dreams were as big as his achievements. He aspired to be recognized as one of the best plastic surgeons nationwide. But beneath the surface of his professional success, there were whispers about the pressure he faced and how it might have led him to seek solace in alcohol. When detectives Larson and Gumbert sat down with Dr. Humberston for questioning, they encountered a man who was both defensive and visibly stressed. He insisted that Joanna's surgery was routine and that he had performed similar procedures countless times without issue. Yet, his demeanor fluctuated wildly during the interrogation, swinging from anger to moments of profound silence, as if he was grappling with the weight of the situation. The police were keen to understand every detail of the surgery, from the preparation to the moment things took a tragic turn. They questioned Dr. Humberston about his actions and decisions in the operating room, looking for any signs of negligence or malpractice. The interrogation was thorough, leaving no stone unturned, as the detectives aimed to piece together how a procedure meant to bring joy ended in sorrow. As the investigation continued, the story of Joanna Rangel's death began to capture the attention of the entire city. Local newspapers and TV stations were filled with updates and speculations about the case. This tragedy had struck a chord, reminding everyone of the fragility of life. As the investigation into Joanna Rangel's death unfolded, the spotlight shifted to Frank H. Rangel, Joanna's husband, who was 59 years old. Frank was a state senator, well-known and respected in government circles. His marriage to Joanna had united two powerful families, making them a prominent couple in Oklahoma City. Despite his influential position, rumors of financial difficulties and a secret affair began to surface, adding complexity to the case. Frank Rangel was a man of ambition, dreaming of leaving a lasting legacy in Oklahoma politics. However, his personal life was not as straightforward as his public persona suggested. The police were curious about any motives Frank might have had, considering the whispers about his extramarital relationship and potential financial gains from Joanna's untimely death. When detectives Larson and Gumbert interviewed Frank, they encountered a man who projected calm and grief over the loss of his wife. He spoke of Joanna with respect and affection, denying any involvement in her death. Frank's demeanor during the interrogation was composed, even as the detectives probed into sensitive areas of his personal and financial life. He insisted that his marriage, despite any rumors, was strong and that he had no reason to wish harm upon Joanna. The detectives were meticulous in their questioning, aware that the dynamics of the Rangel family could hold clues to the mystery. They examined Frank's alibi, financial records, and his interactions with Joanna leading up to the surgery. The investigation was thorough, leaving no aspect of Frank's life unexplored. The case garnered media attention, and the intrigue of a high-profile investigation, combined with the drama of personal and political scandals, captivated the city. In a time when the world was celebrating the start of a new millennium, the tragic death of Joanna Rangel added a somber note to the year's beginning. On a brisk January afternoon, a week after the tragic death of Joanna Rangel, Oklahoma City police made a significant breakthrough in the case. New evidence emerged that would pivot the direction of their investigation. During a meticulous review of the clinic's security footage, detectives spotted something alarming. Angie Ruth Niles, a young nurse who was part of the surgical team, was captured on camera tampering with medical supplies the night before Joanna's procedure. The weather outside mirrored the chill of the revelation, as a cold front had swept through Oklahoma City, leaving streets slick with ice. Inside the warm confines of the police station, detectives Larson and Gumbert watched the footage repeatedly, their seasoned eyes catching the subtle but deliberate actions of Angie. This discovery raised a multitude of questions about her involvement and motives. Armed with this new evidence, the detectives wasted no time. They revisited the clinic, this time focusing on gathering any physical proof that could link the tampered supplies to Joanna's surgery. They collected vials, syringes, and any medications that could have been compromised, ensuring each item was meticulously cataloged for forensic analysis. The police's response to this breakthrough was swift. They knew that this piece of evidence could be the key to unraveling the mystery of Joanna's death. The community, still reeling from the shock of losing one of its most beloved figures, followed the developments closely. Local news outlets were quick to report on the police's findings, adding another layer of intrigue to the high-profile case. In a city that had just celebrated the dawn of the new millennium with optimism and joy, the turn of events in Joanna Rangel's case served as a stark reminder of the unpredictability of life. As the investigation continued, the police were determined to piece together the puzzle, driven by the evidence that had unexpectedly come to light. With the investigation taking a dramatic turn, the focus shifted to Angie Ruth Niles, a 23-year-old nurse at the clinic and a new, critical suspect in Joanna Rangel's death. Angie, who had been captured on the clinic's security footage tampering with medical supplies, suddenly found herself at the center of the police's attention. Known as Frank Rangel's mistress and a key figure in the clinic, Angie's involvement painted a complex picture of personal and professional entanglements. Angie had dreams of moving up in the world, seeing her relationship with Frank as a ticket out of her current life. Her aspirations, however, were now overshadowed by the serious allegations against her. When detectives Larson and Gumbert brought Angie in for questioning, they encountered a young woman whose demeanor oscillated between nervousness and defiance. Her initial calmness gave way to moments of anger as the interrogation intensified, revealing the pressure she was under. The detectives probed Angie about her actions on the night before the surgery, her relationship with Frank, and her presence during the fatal procedure. They were keen to understand her motives, questioning whether jealousy, ambition, or coercion played a role in her actions. Angie's responses were evasive at first, but as the evidence mounted, the facade began to crack, suggesting that there was more to her involvement than initially appeared. As the news of Angie's interrogation spread, the community was abuzz with speculation. Local media, including stations like KWTV and the Oklahoma Gazette, closely followed the developments, providing updates that kept the city on edge. In a time when Oklahoma City was still basking in the optimism of the new millennium, the case of Joanna Rangel introduced a narrative filled with intrigue and betrayal, capturing the attention of a community grappling with the unfolding drama. The investigation into Angie Ruth Niles added a new layer of complexity to the case, as detectives worked tirelessly to piece together the events leading to Joanna's tragic death. With each new revelation, the city watched, waiting for justice to be served in a case that had touched the hearts of many. As the investigation into Joanna Rangel's tragic death deepened, all clues began pointing towards Angie Ruth Niles, the 23-year-old nurse and the mistress of Frank Rangel. The evidence, particularly the security footage of Angie tampering with the medical supplies, was damning. It became clear that Angie, driven by a mix of personal ambition and influence from Frank, played a pivotal role in the events leading to Joanna's death. Angie's dreams of a future with Frank, away from the shadows of his marriage to Joanna, had morphed into a sinister plot. Under the guise of a routine facelift procedure, Angie manipulated the medical supplies, leading to fatal complications during Joanna's surgery. The police, after gathering all necessary evidence and corroborating the sequence of events, moved to make the arrest. On a cold morning in late January, just as the city was beginning to move past the Y2K frenzy and the excitement of the new millennium, Oklahoma City police arrived at Angie's residence. The arrest was swift, capturing Angie by surprise. She had been planning to flee the country with Frank, with tickets booked for a flight to Colombia. However, the police intercepted before their connecting flight to DFW Airport, preventing their escape. Angie's reaction to her arrest was a mix of disbelief and resignation. She had underestimated the extent of the investigation and the evidence against her. Frank, on the other hand, remained silent, his political career and personal life in ruins. The news of the arrest sent shockwaves through Oklahoma City. Local media, including the Oklahoman and News 9, were quick to cover the story, with reporters stationed outside the courthouse and the police station, capturing every moment of the unfolding drama. The community, still reeling from the loss of Joanna, found some solace in the swift action of the police. Joanna's family, devastated by her loss, expressed a cautious relief at the arrests, hopeful for justice in the wake of their unimaginable grief. The trial of Angie Ruth Niles, the nurse implicated in the tragic death of Joanna Rangel, became a focal point for Oklahoma City. As the courtroom drama unfolded, the city watched with bated breath, eager for justice in a case that had gripped the community's heart. The prosecution, led by the determined Amy and Clark, a seasoned attorney known for her tough stance on crime, presented a compelling case against Angie. They outlined how her actions, influenced by her relationship with Frank Rangel, directly led to Joanna's untimely death. On the defense side, John J. Mercian, a skilled lawyer with a reputation for handling high-profile cases, argued for leniency. He painted Angie as a young woman caught in a web of manipulation, her judgment clouded by love and ambition. Despite his efforts, the evidence against Angie was overwhelming, leaving little room for doubt about her involvement. The trial was the talk of the town, with daily updates dominating the news. Stations like Coco 5 and the Oklahoman provided extensive coverage, capturing the emotional testimonies in the tense atmosphere in the courtroom. Joanna's family, present throughout the proceedings, displayed a mix of sorrow and hope, clinging to the belief that justice would be served. When the verdict was finally announced, Angie was found guilty, a decision that sent a wave of relief through the courtroom and beyond. She was sentenced to life in prison, a punishment that Joanna's family felt was just, yet they knew no sentence could fill the void left by Joanna's death. The community, while satisfied with the outcome, reflected on the tragedy, pondering the fragile nature of life and the consequences of our choices. The verdict and sentencing closed a chapter on a case that had captivated Oklahoma City, leaving a lasting impact on all involved. As the news of the sentencing spread, discussions about the case continued, with many hoping it would serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of envy and deceit. In the months following the trial and sentencing of Angie Ruth Niles for the tragic death of Joanna Rangel, Oklahoma City began to heal. The high-profile case that had once dominated conversations at every corner of the city slowly receded into the background, leaving behind a community forever changed by the events. Detectives Mickey Larson and Sarah Gumbert, the officers who had tirelessly worked to bring justice to Joanna, continued their service with the Oklahoma City Police Department. The case had left an indelible mark on their careers, reinforcing their commitment to upholding the law and serving their community. They often found themselves reflecting on the complexities of human nature they had witnessed during the investigation. For Joanna's family, life without her was a difficult adjustment. They channeled their grief into continuing her legacy, dedicating themselves to the charitable causes she had been passionate about. The ranch, a place Joanna loved dearly, became a sanctuary for the family, a place where they could feel close to her spirit and keep her memory alive. Angie Ruth Niles, now serving a life sentence, faced the consequences of her actions. The reality of her situation set in as she adjusted to life behind bars, a stark contrast to the future she had once envisioned with Frank Rangel. Frank, whose involvement in the case had shattered his career and personal life, struggled to come to terms with the fallout. His dreams of political legacy and influence were irreparably damaged. The community of Oklahoma City, while moving forward, would not forget the tragedy that had unfolded among them. Local media outlets, including the Oklahoman and K4TV, occasionally revisited the case, reminding residents of the importance of justice and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. As life continued in the aftermath of the trial, those touched by the case found ways to move on, each carrying their own lessons and memories of a case that had captivated a city and tested the bonds of its community. The tragic case of Joanna Rangel serves as a somber reminder of the lengths to which individuals will go to reshape their destinies, often with devastating consequences. This has been True Crime Case Files. Thank you for joining us as we explore the dark intersections of ambition, love, and betrayal. Hey, True Crime Case Solvers, interested in more real-life murder mysteries? Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. And do you have any thoughts about this case or have a case of your own you'd like us to investigate? Leave us a comment. Until then, stay safe, True Crime Case Solvers.